Welcome into Tapping Vegas. Today we're breaking down Henry Cejudo over Song Yadong. The UFC is back in Seattle, Bobby. I believe it's been something like 11 years since the UFC was there. Exciting fight card. We're going to try to give you guys 5 fights to win you some money. Special thank you to our friends over at DraftKings. If you guys would like to get some free promo money from them, make sure you guys use the link in our description. Bobby, let's just get straight into it. 5 fights. We're breaking down the main card. Take this first one away, man.
Alonzo Menifield versus Julius Walker. This is a very interesting betting fight. I get the reason why the lines are probably set at this because you have, Julius Walker. He's only got 6 fights in total. This is his first UFC fight, trying to come in, make a name for himself after being on the regional scene and everything. A lot of amateur experience, though, so he's got that, but only 6 pro fights so far. UFC debut, and I get all that going against him because you're going up against Menifield, who definitely has that vet edge at 15-5-1. But I mean, it's just crazy to me that you're getting Walker at a plus 200 on money line and Menifield's at a minus 245. Such a heavy favorite is just bizarre to me because Menifield has been around since 2018, right? He's one of the first guys I watched when I first started tuning into that Contender Series season that he was on. That's how he got his contract against Deshaun Boatwright. Very impressive finish. And, he did well in the UFC at the beginning, finished Vincius Moria. Paul Craig finished him with punches, lost to Devin Clark, lost to OSP. That should have been like the first alarm, right? When you lose to OSP in 2020 to a left hook, that's when the alarms start going off. Another 2 fight that he got the W on, lost to William Knight. Then he went on a nice little 4-fight win streak from 2022 to 2023. But now here's where things start to get a little sketchy because the 2 times that he fought last year in 2024 in May and in August, he got finished quick, right? Round 1, 12 seconds in, finished by Carlos Olberg because he got really reckless and rushed in and didn't have that power to intimidate Olberg, and Olberg was able to stand his ground, not get freaked out like Rosenstruik against Ngannou style. Olberg didn't fold, easily able to counter Menifield coming in very reckless with his chin up, finished him. Just got finished last August by Azamat Markzanov. So you got a guy on a 2-fight losing streak that's been in the UFC already since 2018, 15-5. Is the damage starting to catch up? Like, he's not very old. Well, he's 37, actually. Damn, I didn't think he was that old. 37 at this weight class is starting to get up there in age. But, I mean, it's light heavyweights. That's not crazy. Light heavy and heavyweight have the guys that fight, into their 40s, regardless of whether or not they should. But it's starting to get to me to a point where even if the biological age isn't a concern, maybe it's this damage starting to add up now. And it's really nasty when guys, especially at this heavyweight class with power in their hands, can't take punches anymore. And that used to be, something they could rely on. When that chin goes, it doesn't come back. So that's the biggest reason why I want to be in on Julius Walker with these odds as lopsided as they are, excuse me. I could easily see this coming back to bite me in the ass because it is light heavyweight. One punch can change it, blah, 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 blah. He doesn't have the experience that Menifield does. He's making his debut. He might have the jitters, etc., whereas Menifield's the vet. But, I mean, I just can't pass it up with how bad Menifield's looked and just how reckless he's been, and if that's potentially a sign to come, especially at these odds. Like I said, it should be a lot closer to me, almost a pick 'em. So I'm just going to go Walker money line just based off the youth. Maybe he's going to use that as a positive example to like get himself, out there, make a name for himself off somebody who has a name established already in Menifield, make a splash in the light heavyweight division, or at least, in this fight. And at plus 200, I'm just riding money line. What do you think?
I think that was a great breakdown. One of the things you were talking about, Menifield's kind of a name in the UFC. They've been really good at matchmaking lately, and I don't think they would give Walker Menifield if they didn't think he could handle it. I think that the UFC probably thinks pretty highly of Walker. Obviously, these odds are going to be a little inflated because Walker's first time out, Menifield's the name. We're looking at the betting percentages. Julius Walker, 39% of the bets, 40% of the money. So all the money is on Menifield. But I'm with you. I just think these odds are too lopsided. You can get Walker at the money line. I've seen him be able to knock people out, be able to choke people out. I'm going to be with Walker as well. I don't feel super confident about this fight, but those odds just they're not right. They're not right, especially Menifield getting knocked out like at the 14 seconds by Olberg. He just didn't fight good. He didn't fight smart, and that just worries me. Going in against some guy that is probably pretty hungry to come and get new blood. 25 young guy just starting his career. He doesn't want to come in with a loss. Obviously, Menifield doesn't want his third loss in a row, but if he's gonna need to fight a lot smarter if he wants to start winning. Getting knocked out 2 times in a row is not a good look.
For sure. Definitely not a good sign.
Let's talk about this next fight, Bobby. We have one of your favorite guys, Gene Silva, versus
Yeah.
Melsik Baghdasaryan. I hope I said that right. Pretty big odds here. I'm just gonna say this one right out of the gate, Bobby. There's not a whole bunch that I think are nuck if you buck worthy, so I'm gonna make this my nuck if you buck fight of the night. This is one of those fights who I don't feel like it should be as wide as it is. I have a little bit more respect for Melsik than they're showing here. Gene Silva, though, he does punch so hard. And he won a couple fights I didn't think he was going to, that I bet against him. I don't think I'm going to do it again. Minus 500 scares me a little bit. And with Melsik as tough as he is, I almost want to say this goes to a decision, which I think Silva by KO is going to be a popular pick this weekend. Look at the betting percentage. 93% of bets are on Silva. 88% of the money. It's just pouring in on Gene. I think he's going to be an even bigger favorite by the time we get to fight night. I don't know. I'm a little worried this goes to decision. So I'm not going to pick a method yet. I kind of want to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, as far as John Silva versus Melsik Baghdasaryan, yeah, I've been on John Silva for a while now. Back when we were able to get him on plus odds, which says a lot about how long I've been on John Silva
Right.
and that whole Fighting Nerds team. And so, yeah, it's unfortunate because he is such a heavy minus 500 to plus 380 for Baghdasaryan. But I mean, everything I've seen from John Silva pretty much validates that. And I mean, they seem to think it's going to be KO TKO because you're only getting that at minus 110. I don't think it's going to be a sub at plus 650. Could be a decision, but I mean, you're really not making anything crazy off this fight, unfortunately. That's the sucky part. Baghdasaryan, excuse me, he is a tough guy. And I mean, I know John Silva's got power in his hands, but yeah, it's tough. Let me run back right quick and see what like Baghdasaryan's last few fights have look like. But I mean, oh, he actually hasn't even fought since 2023. Could have sworn he fought again, but hey, time flies.
Yeah.
2023, yeah. I mean, a decision over Tucker Lutz, a sub over Joshua Colabo. Nothing crazy. He took all of 2022 off. Like a lot of this guy's prime, unfortunately, might have been lost, Hasn't really been that active since he came on the scene, unfortunately. But he's still young and everything, unless, that damage and all that we were just talking about is catching up. I mean, only 8 fights. Well, 8 wins, 2 losses, 10 fights total on his pro record. So, and that's counting the regionals. So, who knows why he's not really been as active as he should be, in my humble opinion. But I don't know. I don't think he's going to get finished. He's only been finished once. I don't necessarily know if Silva's going to go the grappling route. That could be the X factor of his game that we haven't had reason to see it yet. So maybe he does or doesn't have it. But I'll just play this one safe and just go Silva money line, unfortunately, because they're just making it hard for you to really come out ahead on this.
Yeah. No, I don't blame you one bit. I think I will put my plums on the table though. I think I am gonna go
Ooh.
Silva by decision and take the plus 250 or 215. Only reason is I think Gene Silva is a big favorite and people aren't gonna want to bet that. So they're gonna go to decision. They're gonna see that minus 110. They're gonna see, the Dober damage. They're gonna see his knockout power. And I think people are going to really, really spam that Gene Silva knockout. And I think that he's just going to be too tough. I think it'll go to decision. I don't know if it's going to be unanimous or a split. I think it's probably unanimous. I think Silva wins this one, but I'm going to take him at the plus 215 because something in my plums is telling me to take it.
I like it. That's not bad at all. You know what? I think I'll just jump on that with you since it is plus 215, and I do agree that Baghdasaryan will probably be hard to finish. I'll roll with you on that one.
Dude, I love it. I love it. Take away the third fight, man.
So we got Gene Matsumoto versus Rob Font. Very interesting fight. Matsumoto, doing pretty decent so far in the UFC since he came in 2 years ago, September 2023 on the Contender Series, fought twice last year. Darren Argetta guillotine win April last year. Brad Katona unanimous decision win October last year. Katona's definitely a solid guy in the division, a good litmus test. Good to see him hang with him. Rob Font been around for a while, starting to kind of look a little bit one-dimensional. Unfortunately, I really like Rob Font, but I mean he's 37, and that is starting to play a role in these lighter divisions that he's in, like the bantamweight division. That starts to really catch up with you in a division like that. Usually at those lighter weight classes, those guys are all really reliant on being fast. They're being twitchy. They're being explosive. All these traits that usually are the first things to go if you start to decline with age, if you start to take too much damage, those are like the first things you lose, right? You lose that, quickness, you lose that agility, things like that. And I mean, Rob Font, as much as I like him, I mean, he's been around for a long time now in the UFC. He's been around since 2016 now, right? Ultimate Fighter, he was on there. December 2016 was when he got his Ultimate Fighter contract. But I mean, he even fought in the UFC his first run. He had a debut fight in 2014. So since 2014, really, he's been UFC caliber competition, 2016 with the Ultimate Fighter and everything. So the he's been around a while, from a timeline perspective and from a damage perspective. And he's fought a who's who of everybody, right? John Lineker, Pedro Munoz, Douglas Silva de Andrade, Rafael Alonso, Sergio Pettis, Ricky Simone, Cody Garbrandt, Jose Aldo, like name after name after name, high level of the division. And I think it's just starting to take a toll. And he's just kind of starting to decline. Unfortunately, he's 2-2 in his last four. Lost to Figgy, lost to Corey Sandhagen, beat Kyler Phillips, beat Adrian Yanez. That was a really solid win. But I mean, Matsumoto, 16-0, undefeated. He's got that. He's only 25. He's got a lot to
Quick.
prove. And what's that?
He's quick.
Yeah, quick, has those things that, like I said, might be declining with age and with the damage that Font's been accumulating. So I think for now I'm willing to, put my money behind Matsumoto. This is another fight where they're not really making it easy for you because Matsumoto, I mean, they're seeing the same things we are, right? They see the youth, they see that undefeated mindset that he's bringing in. All those things are obviously visible to anybody with eyeballs. So, I mean, actually, wow, you're only getting Matsumoto at a minus 162 compared to a plus 136 for Font.
Yeah.
See, this is where like the Menifield Walker fight, this should be really flipped to me. This should be one of those Menifield Walker odds fights to me, where you should have Matsumoto as like a minus 300 at least, because yeah, I love Rob Font, but like I said, it's got to be catching up. It's got to be catching up, and maybe it's not. They could go one of two ways. It's either going to be the young up and coming guy gets his candle snuffed by the grizzled old crafty vet, or it's going to be the young lion taking out the old lion for dominance of the pack, like Joe Rogan or some shit. But I mean, you really just can't go wrong with Gene Matsumoto if you don't like the money line. I don't know how frisky I'm feeling. Because, I mean, Rob Font is primarily like a striker. He wants to box with you. So I'm not going to say Matsumoto by KO, TKO, even though that's at plus 1,000. Maybe by sub could be sneaky at plus 650 because Font's not really a ground game guy. Like Figgy had moments, if my memory serves me correctly, of having some decent opportunities on the ground with him. So I don't know. I want to hear what you say, and then I'll make my official decision, but I'm leaning towards Matsumoto by sub. How are you thinking about this?
I see it very similar. I'm glad we're on the same page this week. Not so much last week. Also, sorry we did not have a episode out last week. We did post all of our plays, so we did not miss last week's card, but we were in bad shape last week. You would not have wanted to see us try to talk about MMA. Um, And you know what's pretty interesting about this fight too, Bobby? I think why these odds are so close is people know Rob Font. They know the name, and you can get him at close, close odds, plus 136, and I get him at the plus money. So 51% of people are on Rob Font. So the public is coming in on him, on the familiar guy, but only 31% of the money. So you have 49% of the bets on Matsumoto, 69% of the money. I think those are just the people who aren't glazing over this fight. They're seeing that Matsumoto's just younger, he's faster. At this point in his career, he's probably better. He hasn't displayed the same levels as Rob Font, but we're saying he hasn't displayed those same levels yet. So I think, we got one going up, one going down. And right here in this fight is probably where we see them switch sides, where Gene's the better fighter now. So I am going to be on the Matsumoto money line. I just think that that's a really safe bet. Right now, I like the way that the numbers are coming out in Vegas, too.
Beautiful. I love it. Good observations.
Thank you, sir. Let's talk about my favorite fight on the card. That is Brendan Allen versus Fluffy Anthony Hernandez. I looked at a little bit into this fight when I was scrolling through their past fights. Bobby, do you know that this is a rematch?
Yeah, from LFA was where they first fought each other.
Yes, back in 2018. Very good. You did do your homework, sir. Very interesting fight. And I think that for some reason, I just feel like Brendan Allen is thought of so much better than Anthony Hernandez. Whereas I feel like people probably give Allen too much props, and people have just kind of consistently gave Hernandez not enough respect. And so now I'm a little surprised to see these odds. Minus 325 for Fluffy Hernandez. I think that's right. I think he should be the favorite in this fight. The way that he's beat some of these guys in the past has really impressed me. What's his last fight? Was that against Kopylov? Is that the right? Am I thinking of the right guy? I know it's Russian. Oh no,
for
it's
Hernandez.
Pereira, but before that was Kopylov.
Before that. Yep.
Sub Kopylov was like smiling, giving the camera the thumbs up. And Kopylov is not just like some scrub off the street. Like that is a Russian guy that has bad intentions for you. Pereira was the hyped up Brazilian guy that just crazy stuff comes in. It ended in the 5th, but Bobby, could we say it ended really like in the 2nd, the 3rd, or the 2nd?
Yeah.
I mean, he just beat the living soul out of this man. And so many of the times we see in these fights where the people are like, they jump up, they're like, no, like, why did you call the fight? Dude, Pereira was so happy that fight was called. He had his soul snatched from Hernandez.
Right.
That was eye-opening to me. These last couple fights. Beat Shabazian, beat Marc-Andre Barreau. Vieira, that's the other one I was thinking of. Rodolfo Vieira, which once again, Vieira is coming off a loss from last weekend, but still a very accomplished grappler. And these two guys are these BJJ guys. Something like it feels like a decision to me, but at the same time, I feel like Hernandez could get the sub. If I do the sub decision, it's minus 225, so I'm getting 100 off. Versus if I had to do just a method decision plus 110, submission plus 330, I don't think it's a knockout plus 550. The problem is I don't feel confident enough in either the decision or the submission. So I think I'm going to do the double method. The minus 225 is nasty, but I just don't feel confident enough to narrow it down to one. What do you think?
I could see, yeah. So in their original LFA match, Anthony Hernandez emerged victorious with a unanimous decision win over Brendan Allen. Usually in rematches, I start to think of ways the outcome could change, right? Like, because you never know in rematches. There's been cases where, like Dustin Poirier and Justin Gaethje, that was one that I had a good eye for on this show. That I was like, Justin Gaethje lost the first match, got TKO'd by Poirier. Excuse me. Don't see that happening in the second. And I correctly also predicted that it would be a pretty fast knockout by Justin Gaethje, and it was. But this is one of those fights where I think it's going to play out exactly the same, right? it's going to play out with Anthony Hernandez being victorious. You pretty much described everything perfectly. I don't really have much to add. It sucks because it's 3 rounds, so 15 minutes. If it was a main event, I'd feel a little bit more confident. But I mean, I think even though they're both really accomplished black belt grapplers in BJJ, I think Anthony Hernandez is just really coming into his own. He's really shown a lot of growth and a lot of progress. Whereas I feel like at this stage of his career, Brendan Allen's not growing. He's, if anything, becoming stagnant, which is unfortunate because these are two of like the most talented guys, in my humble opinion, two of the top middleweights in the whole division.
Exciting.
And it just feels like right now Brendan Allen's just unfortunately kind of capped. Like he's beat Chris Curtis and Paul Craig and Bruno Silva and Andre Muniz and like Jacob Malkoun. He has some good wins and everything, but like, man, he's just got a ceiling he just can't seem to break through. Like he's lost to Chris Curtis before he beat him in that split decision. He lost to Sean Strickland. He just lost to Imavov. It feels like once he reaches that upper, like maybe like top 5, top 10, he just can't break through, unfortunately. And it's like Hernandez, Pereira was a really good win. Kopylov was a really good win. Shabazian, the jury's out. It's hard to tell what's going on with Shabazian, even though he's looked good lately. It's hard to discount how bad he's also looked. Marc-Andre Barriot's not good, but it is good to get a finish, like you mentioned about Vieira, top-level black belt. But I mean, he lost to Kevin Holland, which is crazy because Kevin Holland's like becoming the middleweight Michael Johnson, where on any given night he can beat you or you can beat him.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I feel like since those fights were early in his career, he's able to overcome those. And now it's starting to look to me like Brendan Allen's losses are starting to kind of come later and they're starting to kind of become unpredictable. And as I mentioned, he's riding a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 fight win streak right now. 5 of those coming by finish.
Yeah.
It just really seems like he's coming into his own. It's starting to click for him, since that loss to Holland in 2020, he's riding that. Feels like he's shrinking the game right now. Like everything's starting to kind of slow down for him. Maybe he's finding his stride. And like I said, it just feels like Brendan Allen just feels kind of capped right now, unfortunately. So, yeah, I'm going to Anthony Hernandez. You said KO, TKO plus subs like minus 225.
Sub plus decision is minus 225.
Okay. What about KO plus sub? What are you getting for that?
KO sub is plus 180.
I'm going to go with that. I really think he can get the finish because I think he's the better grappler. Like I said, they're both great grapplers, both black belts. I think he's even better. And then I definitely think he's better on the feet, 100% better on the feet. So, yeah, that's how I'm rolling.
I love it, man. I couldn't agree more. I really hope he does get the finish. This last one, though, like this is my most favorite fight, but I think my favorite bet is this next fight. I'm going to let you pick the buffet we're eating at, Bobby, because we're getting paid out on this one, my friend. I don't know, Chinese buffet, American buffet. You take this fight away, man.
Song Yadong versus Henry Cejudo. Interesting storyline with this. Henry Cejudo won gold at the 2008 Beijing Olympics. What was Song Yadong doing in 2008 at those same Beijing Olympics, you ask? Well, he wasn't competing. He was actually selling souvenirs. So outside the same stadium in Beijing in 2008, where Henry Cejudo won a Olympic gold medal in men's wrestling, Song Yadong was just a kid just trying to make some extra spending money. So that's a very interesting storyline that's going on there. Henry Cejudo, great fighter, right? Like obviously like kind of like up there in my list of GOATs, probably like top 15 is roughly where I'd put him if I'm guessing, maybe not. Just kind of depends on, how much effort and thought I want to put into it, but just, freestyling off the top of my head, maybe he's top 15, just to kind of depends. But what I'm getting at with this is, yes, he has this legendary status and he accomplished a lot in the short time he was in the UFC, but he's a classic example of overplaying your hand and leaving at the worst possible time, right? Because, he kind of first threatened it after he beat TJ Dillashaw with the TKO, defended the flyweight championship and everything. And then he was like, I just defended the flyweight championship. Now I want to move up, be another double champ like Connor and everybody else. Handily beat Marlon Moraes to get the just the vacant bantamweight belt. Then he became the double champ. So once he became the double champ with the flyweight and bantamweight, he kind of overplayed his hand a little bit. Kind of was like, I'm going to take some time off. I kind of don't really want to fight unless it's an interesting fight, blah, 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 blah. Was off for roughly almost a year, came back, beat Dominic Cruz to defend the belt. Just to kind of pad his resume with a name. I love Dominic Cruz. He's another legend, another GOAT of the sport. But I mean, at that time, just wasn't much other than a name for Henry Cejudo, unfortunately. And then, he was like, all right, now I'm serious. Now I really don't want to come back because I defended the belt. I'm still a double champ. I want bigger money, bigger fights, blah, 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 blah. And he didn't fight for 3 years. And I feel like it sucks because the UFC refuses to pay their fighters what they're owed and what they're justified in getting, especially with how exciting Cejudo was and riding that 3-fight finishing streak, all by TKO over Cruz, Marlon Moraes, and Dillashaw, both very, very accomplished guys, except for, Cruz to an extent during that time, unfortunately. No knock against Cruz. It's just where he was in his career with the injuries and all that. But what I'm saying is, 3 years is a long time to be off, and it clearly did not help him. We talk about guys and girls taking time off. Does it help? Does it hurt? Does it make them rusty? I think it helps Cejudo. I think it hurts Cejudo. I think it hurt him more than anything because when he finally came back in 2023, he had nothing to offer Aljamain, dominated by Devishvili last year in February. Just looked like he lost a step. Just didn't look like that guy, unfortunately. It just looked like something was off. And it sucks. It really sucks because who knows how much farther he could have cemented his legacy had he not taken that time off. And it just sucks because the UFC should have paid him. They had the money. He had the entertainment factor. Everything was going. And it's just really unfortunate. But, I mean, you got Song Yadong. He's a young guy. And, if this was a few years ago, I wouldn't be picking him, but there's just too much going on now. That Song Yadong's 27, Henry Cejudo's 38. We just got done talking about how in this bantamweight division, this lighter of a weight division, you don't want to be fighting guys who are primarily relying on fast twitch, agility, in and out, quick movement, and you're 38, and it's just not what you want to be doing. It's not light heavyweight. It's not heavyweight. These heavier divisions where you can kind of get away with that if you have better technique, knowledge, experience, whatever. And so it just sucks because age, I feel like, is going to make a difference in this. Yadong's got a lot to prove. Yeah, he's coming off a unanimous decision loss to Peter Yan last March, but Yan's been looking decent again since he's been back off his little skid. Beat Ricky Simone, Chris Gutierrez, beat Marlon Moraes, Julio Arce, Casey Kenny. Like, he's been in the UFC for a while himself since 2017. He's starting to kind of be up there as a UFC fighter. But, I mean, it's now or never. It's now or never for him. He's in a main event fight. It's 5 rounds. Maybe Cejudo comes out and can wrestle. He definitely has that advantage for sure over Yadong. Striking, it just kind of depends. Henry Cejudo was showing some good things right at that moment in 2020 before he left for a while. I don't know. This fight's tough. This fight's tough for me, but as much as I want to be on Cejudo, I don't know if I can. I don't know. Maybe I'll go with Cejudo money line. Just as this is my last chance with Cejudo, man. If he can't do it here, it's officially over. Like, this should be a winnable fight for him, but I just do not feel confident in it. But I'm also not that wowed by Yadong, so it's really tough for me. But I'll just go with Cejudo money line to play it safe to try to get some positive action. What are you thinking?
I think I got so much to say after all that. I'm just not wowed by Yadong. That's not the first time I've heard that statement before in my life. Bobby, I just wanted to throw that out there. Also, Yadong, just because you dyed your hair doesn't mean I don't recognize you as the same loser that lost to Peter Yan last year. Bro trying to play us. Bobby, age does not matter in this fight because Cejudo's that guy, man. And you're saying, you know what? He did lose to Sterling. He did lose to Merab. But Sterling, he has been a champ. He was a champ for a while. He's very good, and then he lost to Merab, who did make Cejudo look bad, but he also made Sean O'Malley look bad, and then he made Umar look bad. I mean, Merab's just running through everybody right now. So I don't use that as a knock against Cejudo at all. Merab's just on a different level, and Yadong is not Merab, man. I think that Cejudo comes in. I think he wins this one comfortably. I already have units on you. Not on Yadong. I already got units on Cejudo. I locked it in as soon as I could. I feel pretty confident about this one, and I almost want to take knockout plus 900.
Oh, that confident.
Bro,
That confident.
I don't know if this goes to decision. I mean, Yadong, he has not impressed me at all. I don't think his striking is good enough to separate him versus the gap they have in wrestling. I really think Cejudo dominates him. I really do.
All
I
right.
think that he might take him down and just pummel him into submission. Uh, I don't know. Like, should I be safe? Do you have a haymaker?
That's what I was just looking at. That's what I was just trying to figure out is what I want the haymaker to be because nothing's really wowing me so far. That's
Right.
the crazy thing. Yeah, yeah,
If
nothing's really
you're
wowing me that we covered.
if you're all right with me taking it today,
Hey, you can take it, man. If you feel that comfortable about it, I'll let you have it. If you're feeling the flow, go
I'm
for it.
feeling good, dude. I'm feeling good. Let's do it. I will take money line to be safe, but we're gonna do the
Okay.
haymaker, which is our big plus odd play over on DraftKings. Once again, you guys use our code BetterGreen. Click the link in the description. It'll take you to DraftKings so you can open up a new account and get $150 of free bonus bets. $5 on Henry Cejudo by knockout, a plus 900.
I love it. I love it, man. That's the haymaker. I hope it hits. We need it.
I I hope so too. I hope so too. I really have a good feeling about Cejudo. Maybe I'm wrong. It's very possible. But man, like you said, it's now or never. I'm gonna say it's never for Yadong, and I'm gonna say it's now for Cejudo. I think he gets it done. I think the run starts now.
I like it. I don't know if I'd be so confident as to say the run, but he can at least get a win and maybe retire on a high note. I love your
You gotta
confidence, and I love
believe, bro.
Cejudo. I love your confidence, and I love Cejudo. But man, it's hard for me to say a run, but I'll say that he'll be able to. Hopefully, he can bow out gracefully. Let's say that.
He's a goat. He is above John Jones, but just under Bo Nickel.
Oh God, the fucking interns are gonna be out for that.
Oh my God, are you serious?
Yeah, little bro. Yeah,
I had to. I had to do it to him.
it's a good thing I live in fucking Baltimore now.
Be more represent, dude. Thank you guys for watching. This has been Tapping Vegas with Better and Green. We will be back next week. A good card, actually. The next couple cards, Bobby, have some pretty decent fights on them, dude.
Shit, I'm so jaded right now. I'm just taking your word for it. I haven't even looked ahead.
Thank you guys for watching. If you haven't yet, please make sure you subscribe so you see future content from us. We'll see you next week. Peace, guys.
Peace.